She's one of those young women who has it all: beauty, talent, intelligence. But at her crowning moment, she's carrying quite a burden. Here's our Power Player of the Week.
Choosing life over vanity, choosing life over what society or Hollywood tells me makes me beautiful.
Crowned Miss District of Columbia 2012, and she will compete in the Miss America pageant on January 12th. But regardless, if she walks away with the crown, she has decided to undergo a major surgery where she says she'll be choosing life over beauty. You're 24 years old. Other young women have made that agonizing decision as well to do a preventative double mastectomy. But what makes your situation particularly unusual is that you're a contestant for Miss America. How did that play into your decision?
Well, I knew that when I decided to get involved with the Miss America program that we would have this incredible charitable platform where we could advocate a cause that was important to us, and that's something that the Miss America program affords young women across this country. And I thought,
Miss DC, Allyn Rose joins us. Nice to see you.
good to see you.
And you tweeted last night that we were on your bucket list. You're on our bucket list in a few years.
Great.
And I mean, have you been tested to see whether or not you carry the gene that is associated with breast cancer?
Yes, I'm actually BRCA 1 and 2 mutation negative, but so is my mother. And a lot of people like to say, well, why don't you just live a healthy lifestyle? Why don't you be very vigilant? But my mom was a marathon runner. She had a raw food diet. She lived in Hawaii, about as healthy as you can possibly get, and that didn't stop her from getting cancer. So if I can do something to decrease my likelihood of developing breast cancer by upwards of 90%, that's what I'm going to do.
A lot of women would find great difficulty making a decision like that, and especially someone, an attractive young woman, a woman at your age. But you don't have that trouble, do you?
No. I mean, I read an entry from my mom in her journal, and she was talking to me, and she said, I'm so sorry to leave you because you'll need me for many years and not just a few. And it really put me in the position of what it was like to be my mom and to struggle writing that letter, to know that she was going to lose her battle with breast cancer, she was going to leave her children and her husband. And I said, I don't want that to be me. I can live my life without my breasts if that means I get to live a long and healthy life with my family.
Allyn Rose is the reigning Miss District of Columbia, and she joins me now. Allyn, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here.
It's an honor.
You don't have the same gene as Angelina Jolie, but you have been diagnosed with a very high risk of breast cancer, and so you've chosen to undergo the same preventative double mastectomy. How high is your risk, and how did you come to the decision?
My risk is a little bit difficult to determine, but I do face a very strong hereditary risk of breast cancer. My mother was diagnosed with this disease at the age of 27, came back 20 years later in the other breast, and she passed away. My grandmother passed away from this disease, my great aunt, so I am facing a very strong hereditary link to breast cancer.
How hard is that? I mean, especially as a beauty queen, you get judged on your looks, you've put yourself out there to be assessed on your looks in certain, forums.
Right.
And obviously, your breasts are part of your body and who you are and your femininity and your sex appeal and so on.
Sure. I mean, it was a difficult decision to make. I remember when my dad sat me down at 18, I said, Dad, I'm just developing into the body I have now. Why would I want to have this surgery? But, he looked at me straight in the face and he said, I don't want you to be dead like your mom. And I think he needed to be that aggressive with me. At 18, you think you're invincible, you're going to live to be 100 years old. But I didn't have the luxury that most people have. My mom was diagnosed with a stage 3 breast cancer at the age of 27. I turned 25 this month. The idea that I could be facing a battle for my life 2 years from now is a very real and scary proposition. So, I said I'd rather have a beautiful life than have what other people tell me constitutes a beautiful body.
Amen to that. And Angelina says that her mother died at 56, and she was worried about being there to mother her own children, and says that the procedure can come out beautifully. She got implants, and they did what they could to preserve, tissues and so on. I assume you're hoping for the same results.
Yes, I mean, it's not a perfectly seamless procedure, but I'm lucky that I live in a technological age where reconstruction is possible, and there's been huge leaps and bounds in the medical community for reconstruction, and they can make you look almost as good as perfect, sometimes better, and I think it was an incredibly commendable thing for Angelina to come out and say that she feels just as beautiful as she ever did.
I want to know how you felt about reading Angelina's piece on Tuesday morning.
It was a very poignant piece for me, and something that I think really inspired me to be confident in my decision. The thing that really was the catalyst for me was when I read my mom's journals and she spoke to me about what it was like to, to know and fear that you might have to lose your children or you leave your children. And I think Angelina spoke so perfectly about that. She wants to be around for her children someday. And at the end of the day, it's not about her looks, it's not about her vanity, it's about life, being here for her family. And I think it's nice to have somebody in Hollywood say that's what's important.
Have you had any struggles with your look, your femininity, the whole issue of vanity?
I'm a full-time model. I work in the beauty industry, as some would say, competing in the pageant world. But, my mom had one breast my entire life. She lost her right breast at 27, and that didn't stop my mom from living a fruitful life. And so I think she was a really great example for me that, breasts or no breasts, you live your life, according to your own prerogative. And so, it's scary sometimes, but I think having her as an example has been empowering for me.
Well,
my first slide is supposed to be redefining the importance of breasts. And it's a little bit of a taboo topic, but breasts are pretty important to me. First, I'm a woman. Secondly, I'm a pageant queen. I'm a full-time model. I make my money on my body. I'm cashing in on my boobs. So when they asked me to come and give this speech, they said, you don't have to be the foremost expert on your topic, but you got to be an expert. So I'm going to consider myself a breast expert. At 15, like every 15-year-old girl, I wanted 3 things, and that was to marry Brad Pitt, it was to not have pimples, and it was to finally get boobs. And so, at 15, breasts are everything. Every girl's thinking, oh my God, when am I going to get them? Every guy's thinking, oh my God, when's she going to get them? It's a pretty difficult time. And breasts are a pretty powerful thing. Breasts help nurture and feed a child. Breasts are an iconic part of the female body, but breasts also have the power to kill you. The first thing my mom thought wasn't, oh my God, I have cancer. It wasn't, am I going to die? It's, I'm not married, I don't have kids, and what man is ever going to love me with one breast? It's a pretty scary thought at 27 when, a big part of your life is identified in being a woman, part of your body. But luckily, 5 years later, my mom met my dad, who promised her that having one breast didn't faze him one bit because he was a leg guy. He's a good man. So, my speech is on the power of redefining breasts. And how do you do that when breasts are such an iconic thing in society? They're iconic to everybody. And I think to do that, you have to make a pretty powerful statement. And so that's what I tried to do. In November of last year, I think I shocked the world with 3 words, and that was prophylactic bilateral mastectomy. And I think what shocked people first was that a beauty queen knew how to spell that, and then secondly, what that entailed. And, I'm blonde, I'm a beauty queen, I'm not that great at math, but this is my diagram for one boob still equals a woman. And for all the women like my mom out there, I think that's an important thing. Your breasts don't define your femininity, and they don't define your womanhood. I want you to have perspective about what are important and how you define yourself and you define the things in your life. I know that reading back through my mom's journals, the central theme was, I'm so sorry to leave you. And she would have given up every penny that she had, every part of her body, to not leave her most precious job of raising her kids unfinished. And unfortunately for her, hindsight was 20/20. But you all have the opportunity to make those decisions in your life now, to redefine the way you look at things and to have perspective. Thank you.